You get dressed every morning without thinking about it. A shirt, pants, maybe a jacket if it's cold outside. It feels automatic, almost invisible, like breathing. But the real answer to why you do this is far stranger than "it's cold outside." Because humans didn't start wearing clothes when they got cold. They started wearing clothes long after they had already lost the fur that used to keep them warm. And that timing doesn't make sense unless you know the real story. Your body is, biologically speaking, a naked ape. Every other primate on Earth is covered in thick hair. You are not. Somewhere around 1 to 2 million years ago, your ancestors lost almost all of their body hair. Scientists like Mark Pagel and Walter Bodmer have studied this transition using genetic evidence, and their research suggests the loss of hair happened for a very specific reason. It wasn't about looking different, it was about surviving heat. Early humans were persistence hunters. They didn't outrun prey. They outlasted it. A human could chase an antelope for hours in the blazing heat of the savanna, not because humans were faster, but because humans could sweat. Fur traps heat. Bare skin releases it. Losing hair let early humans cool down through evaporation, which meant they could hunt in the middle of the day when other predators were resting in the shade. So the hair disappeared. And for a long stretch of prehistory, that was fine. Bare skin worked during the day. But night is a different story. Temperatures on the savanna can drop dramatically after sunset. A creature that lost its natural insulation now had a new problem. How do you survive the cold without the fur you just gave up? The answer wasn't clothing. Not yet. The answer was fire. Fire solved the nighttime cold for a very long time. Humans didn't need to invent clothing as long as they could sit near a flame. But fire has a flaw. It doesn't travel with you. And around 1.2 million years after losing body hair, something changed. Humans began to move. Out of Africa, into colder latitudes, into places where fire alone wasn't enough. This is where the story gets genuinely strange, and where genetics gives us a window into deep time that fossils never could. In 2003, a research team led by Mark Stoneking used an unusual method to estimate when clothing began. They studied lice. Specifically, they compared head lice, which live in human hair, to body lice, which live only in clothing. Body lice cannot survive without fabric to nest in. That means body lice could not have existed before humans started wearing something. By measuring the genetic divergence between these two lice species, Stoneking's team calculated that clothing likely emerged around 170,000 years ago. Think about that gap for a moment. Humans lost their fur more than 1 million years before they started covering their skin again. For over 1 million years, your ancestors were naked, sweating, hairless animals with no fire-independent way to survive the cold. That is an extraordinarily long stretch of vulnerability, and it means something important. Clothing wasn't really about comfort. It was a survival technology, invented at almost exactly the same time humans began pushing into colder environments outside of Africa. The timing lines up almost perfectly with the first major human migrations north. The first clothes weren't sewn. They were wrapped. Animal hides draped over the shoulders, tied with sinew or plant fiber. Archaeologists have found bone awls, thin pointed tools used to punch holes in hide, dating back roughly 40,000 years at sites associated with early modern humans. Ian Gilligan, an archaeologist who has spent years studying the origins of clothing, argues that the shift from simple draped hides to fitted sewn garments happened specifically in response to the last ice age. When temperatures dropped hard, loose hides weren't enough. Humans needed insulation that trapped body heat close to the skin. Needles appear in the archaeological record around this same period, and with them, the first true tailored clothing. Here is the part that should genuinely surprise you. Clothing didn't just keep humans warm, it changed where humans could live, permanently. Without clothing, the human body is only suited to tropical and subtropical climates. That's it. That is the entire natural range of a hairless, sweating primate. Every human population living in Siberia, in Northern Europe, in the Arctic, exists there because clothing made it possible. Not adaptation of the body, adaptation of a tool worn on top of the body. Humans essentially outsourced their evolution. Instead of waiting hundreds of thousands of years to regrow fur suited for the cold, early humans built an artificial fur, one they could take off, layer, and improve. This is a pattern that shows up again and again in human history. When your biology hits a wall, you don't wait for evolution to catch up. You build something